Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about various project types and sizes, and I'm going to give you simple framework and methodology to classify projects. This is very important because it is going to help you analyze your previous experience in terms of the types of projects that you have done, and it will help you plan your future development as a project manager. So what do I mean by that? For example, if you're going through a project management interview or if you are discussing your experience, this video will give you the method to discuss and describe your experience and your future development plans in a structured and coherent way. So I had a mentor who used to say that the product that sells better is usually the product which is described better. As a professional, you have to be able to discuss your career to date and your future aspirations, and hopefully in this video you will learn how to do so. So without further ado, let's deep dive into the content. So by now you know what a project is. The thing is that projects come in various shapes and forms. One of the things that you should have learned by now is that projects are unique. So every project is completely different and stand alone from everything else that you have done. While this is true, at a certain level of abstraction, you can classify projects into certain broad categories. And I'm going to give you 3 super high-level categories to classify your projects. So the first category is what I call operational development projects or internal projects. It comes from operations, so operations are internal, and then development normally is kind of improvement. So an example of a project like that would be, let's say you have a sales process which needs improvement and tweaking, and you're going to launch an internal operational development project or process improvement project. Actually, there are some methodologies like Lean Six Sigma, for example, that are specifically designed to deal with this type of projects. Most of the projects in your career probably would be falling within this category. I refer to them as operational development or internal projects. The next type or the next category is the so-called client delivery projects. These are projects where client, which is external to the organization, is involved and the project manager gets to deal with that client. Typical example would be, let's say you're a construction company and a client is signing a contract with you to build a residential building, and you will be the project manager. As part of that project, you will have to interface the client. You will be talking to your boss internally and your team, which is going to be probably also within your organization, but you will be facing a client, a person on the client side, normally a vendor manager or a peer project manager on the client side who would be responsible to interface with you. So this is completely different ball game from internal projects. It's generally much more difficult because now you have a complex stakeholder relationships to manage, and it's normally the better paid position. So the question is, do you have any client-facing project management experience? If you don't have, you should consider, my personal opinion is that you should consider trying your hand and experiencing what a client-facing project is, to kind of expand your career. Or if you haven't, maybe your strength is internal projects. The third broad category is new product / service introduction. So product-based businesses who launch new products and services normally handle that through project-based work, and then the output of the project is the new product. For example, in the car manufacturing, the new facelift of the car is kind of a project. Once that is released, they trigger another project for the next year to upgrade the facelift. So product-based and service-based businesses, they also have their own projects, and the result of that is the new product or service. So these are the 3 main categories. What are the implications for you? Again, look back, analyze your experience. If you have done any projects, where are they? Are they in the category of the operational development? Are they client-facing? Are they new product / service development? Some of those categories overlap, and I'm not going to go into the exceptions because I want to keep this video short and simple, but it is possible to have a project that falls between 2 categories, so don't worry about it. It's a very high-level way of thinking about the types of projects. Now, another way to classify your experience is to look at it through the lens of the industry or the function that you're working in. So which industry are you operating in? Is it, for example, logistics? Is it finance and insurance? Is it some other industry? Where has your project experience been earned? In which industry? Is it in one single industry? Is it in multiple industry? Do you see any trends? Are you a project manager in the finance industry? Are you a project manager in the marketing industry, etc.? Or through the function. So are you a project manager in finance? Are you a project manager in HR? This type of analysis will help you see any trends in your experience. And then once you analyze and categorize your experience to date, the next thing is to look forward in the future and think about where you want to go. So for example, is there a specific industry, specific type of project, or specific function that you want to have a project within? And then document that and try to build a bridge. And how you move from the current state to the future state is through discussion with your direct manager, the head of the PMO, or whoever your manager is, or by changing the company. And basically, during the interview process, you will look for companies and potential employers who can provide you this type of experience that you want to get more of. Because as a project manager, you are in charge of your career development. You are in the driving seat. You have the ability to apply, pass the interview, change the job, get the experience. So that's in terms of types of project. Now, I want to touch on a very important topic, which is the subject matter expertise in project management. And oftentimes, especially in my career, I have been attacked by a lot of subject matter experts that I don't have subject matter expertise. I've tried to remain neutral and general about the subject matter. And the key question is whether the project manager needs to have subject matter expertise in the project that they lead. Let me give you an example. If I'm leading a big project let's say the project is to build a house, do I need to have construction subject matter expertise myself? And my answer to this question is no, I don't. It could frustrate a lot of people on your team and people who do not understand project management, because they will say, how come you are project managing a team and you don't understand the essence of their job, right? And the answer is very simple. Project managers are experts at execution. They are not experts at the subject matter expertise. I don't care if I'm building a house, launching a rocket, doing a renovation at my living room. To me, it's all the same. It's a project that needs to be done. And because it ticks certain criteria, for example, it is complex and it is big and it is expensive, I know that on my own, I cannot do anything. I need my team. And my core team are the people that report to me for the duration of the project that are supposed to have this subject matter expertise. And together, as a team, we can deliver that project. Let me give you a simple example to make sure that you understand this. Imagine that I want to make a coffee. Let's imagine that this is an empty cup, right? And you ask me to make a cup of coffee for you. You say, Arsene, please make me a coffee, right? I'm going to take the cup and I'm going to go to the coffee machine and I'm going to press a single button and this cup is going to be full of coffee. That's very simple. I don't need to know about coffee. I don't need to be expert in anything. It's just a simple task, right? Or simple, even a to-do thing. Yeah. And then I have the coffee. Now, imagine that you asked me to design a coffee machine, which is much more complex. I mean, designing a coffee machine is not super high-tech project, but it's still more complex than making a cup of coffee. Can I make a coffee machine on my own? Answer is flat, no, I cannot. I need an industrial designer. I need salesperson. I need recruitment person to hire the people. I need engineer to design the technical drawings. I need marketing person to design the sales campaign. I need a technical person to maintain the laptops and design the website for this, etc. I need a copywriting person to write the ad copy. I need vendors to provide the raw materials. Designing something as simple as a coffee machine is super complex. And because of this is very important, listen to this, because of the complexity of the scope, it requires cross-functional cooperation. Because of the complexity, it requires cross-functional cooperation, meaning that you need different people with different expertise. More than one person is required. Once the complexity exceeds certain threshold, you need more than one person. Therefore, it doesn't matter what my degree is, because even if I have degree in recruitment and industrial design, I still miss marketing, accounting, and a ton of other competencies that I need for the project. So as a project manager, I don't need to be specialist in any of the cross-functional areas that I manage the project within. I need capable people from the respective functions that can bring their subject matter expertise to the table, and together as a team, we can do it together, right? I hope that makes sense. As a project manager, you don't need to understand finance to manage a project in finance, because you will have a team who understands that. Your job as a project manager is to bring the project and deliver the output. That being said, of course, there is exceptions to this one. This is for big projects. If the project is smaller and less cross-functional, think about this, less complex project, less cross-functional. For example, I want to deploy a small tool in finance, small financial software that is going to improve part of a financial process in finance. It's going to be much more intelligent for this project to be carried out by a finance person versus a general project manager like me, because this project is only within finance essentially. So subject matter within one domain, this is feasible to find on the market. You need a finance person with a little bit of project management skills. They will have the respect of the peers. They will understand the subject matter expertise. They don't have to learn anything new. They just have to deploy a small tool. So in smaller projects, it makes sense to have subject matter expertise in the function that you're working in. On sufficiently large projects, it doesn't make any sense. So if somebody attacks you and says, how come you're project managing this and you don't have experience in this? Think about how big is the thing that you're managing. If it's a really big project, you don't have to worry about. If it is a small interdepartmental project, maybe it will make more sense for somebody who understands the subject matter expertise to run that project. So that's something about subject matter expertise that is very, very important. And hopefully you have been part of this discussion in the past, or if you are really new to project management, you will be part of this. You will be challenged on your subject matter expertise sooner or later. And I'm providing you with a kind of a good answer to this. This is also very useful during interview situations, and it's also very useful when you're planning your career. Do you want to specialize in a specific industry function, or you want to remain general, like I did, and focus on bigger projects? There is no right and wrong way to do it. It's about personal preference and development aspirations, by the way. Okay, so in the final part of this video, I want to discuss project sizes. So this is a very exciting topic. What is a small project? What is a medium project? What is a big project? Size is always a sensitive topic, and people love to talk about size and compare their projects to, other people's projects and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you my best thinking on the sizing of the projects. By now, you know what a project is. And we know that a project is something big, because that's what I told you in the previous video. However, there are smaller projects in life, and they, strictly speaking, they're not called projects. I refer to them as project-based work, smaller pieces of project-based work. So we said that the average project is between 6 and 12 months. But that was only one dimension. If you go on the left, basically, if the project takes less than 6 months, we can talk about an assignment. And if it is further to the left, like a few weeks, we can talk about a task. If we go up, we're talking about program. If we exceed the 12 months mark, we're talking about a program. Project-based work can be classified against several dimensions, and I'm going to give you some of those now. The first dimension for classification project-based work is cost. Obviously, the piece of project-based work is on a continuum from being cheap to being very expensive. What cheap and expensive means in your particular situation is not so important. So we're not talking about values, we're talking about directions. So in my personal life, if I want to repaint my living room, it could be $1,000. And that may be expensive in my world. So I will treat that as a big project. But if I work for a large corporation, $1,000 may be a lunch with a few stakeholders. So that's not going to be a project. So the actual amount of the cost is not so important. The important thing is the principle which are used to determine that something is a project or something is small project. By the way, I don't like to use the term small project and medium-sized project because, people are sensitive to that, and you cannot say that you're going to be managing a small project because, you're stupid or something like that. So I use the term project to mean big project, and then assignment for a medium-sized project, and then task for a really small project, almost like a to-do, right? So don't use small projects. It's misleading, and people get offended when you say your project is small. I hope you get what I'm saying. So the first dimension is cost. So things range from low in cost to high in cost. The higher the cost, the more it makes sense to handle this as a big project. Okay? Why? Because if you fail, you're going to lose a lot of money. The second dimension is the amount of risk involved in delivering the project. We are talking about a horizon of 6 to 12 months. So as a project manager, you have to assess and manage the risk on a project. The third dimension is the amount and type of competencies required. Tasks and assignments require one or two skill sets. Projects require cross-functional knowledge from multiple skill sets. So for example, again, the coffee example. I don't need any skill set to make a coffee, but I need 10 to 20 skill sets to make a coffee machine. So based on the amount of competencies required, the more you need, the more likely it is that you're dealing with the project. So for example, if I say to you, I want to introduce a small piece of finance software and I need only financial subject matter expertise, probably that's a small assignment in finance. That's not a project. But the moment you realize that you're talking about cross-functional expertise, you need a person from finance, from accounting, from HR, from recruitment, from senior management, etc., then you're dealing with a project or something very big. The other one is coordination. The level of coordination is important. So it ranges on continuum from low level of coordination to high level of coordination. The higher the level of the coordination, the more likely you are dealing with a big project. The other dimension or variable that you need to consider is environmental complexity. So remember, even in my model, I discussed the importance of environment because the environment gives you the options in life, right? And if your options are limited, it's more and more, you're going to face more challenges. When you are given the project, you have to think about the environment. Is it conducive to work or is it prohibitive to work? Is it a difficult environment to work? So for example, Delta Force teams in the US, they work in highly turbulent and dangerous environment, and they handle their operations as projects, not as tasks, because the environment actually introduces additional risk. And finally, the classic dimension is the duration. And maybe if you have to remember one, that's the one to use. If you cannot remember all the variables to assess the size of a project, remember the duration. Anything between 6 and 12 months. If it takes 6 to 12 months to be delivered, it's complex, probably it's expensive, probably it requires a lot of resources and a lot of skill sets. And it's probably very cross-functional. Imagine it takes 6 to 12 months to build something. It must be expensive, right? And if it is longer than that, it's a program. And if something takes 12 months and it's going to be expensive, you have to manage it as a project, not as an assignment or as a task. So what are the implications of this? So first of all, in the first part of the video, I shared with you what are the broad classification of projects. You can talk about your experience and your career aspirations. The second part of the video, these variables that I just covered with you, cost, risk, competencies, coordination, environment, complexity, and duration, these things help you adjust or tailor, is a project management term, but that is very important to grasp, to tailor your efforts according to the project at hand or initiative at hand. If you apply the same rigorousness and same pressure and same methodology on a small and big project, on a task and a project, it's a sign that you are less experienced in project management. Because if I don't have to write a project charter or a business case for making a coffee. This is a task, right? But if I'm doing a coffee machine, I have to write a business case. So if you take a regular project management book, it says every project should have a business case. But in real life, you have simple tasks. You don't have to write a business case for them, right? You just take the cup, press the button, have the coffee, and you're done. So you have to evaluate, first of all, when your manager assigns work to you, is this a process or a project? And if it is a project, where is that project-based work on the continuum of size? Is it a small task? Is it assignment? Is it a project? And how, as a professional in execution, you should adjust your effort and knowledge to deliver that within time, cost, scope, and quality. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that expanded your understanding about the various types and sizes of projects. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you had any specific insights for your career to date and for your future career aspirations. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.